Well, hello everybody. This is Yasmin Boland coming to you live and direct from planet London, London, England. And my show is called Weekly Astrology with Yasmin. I'm absolutely honoured to be here on Hay House Radio. I'm here every Tuesday at this time taking a look at the astrology for the week ahead. And if you have a look at the Hay House Radio website, you'll see that we actually have a little bit of information each week about what's going to be on the show. So if you're wondering about, is it a new moon week or a full moon week, or what's going to be in the stars this week, you can actually get a little bit of an advanced preview, so to speak, because it's all up there. And if you've had a look this week, you will have seen, excuse me, I'm just getting comfortable here, you'll have seen that this week there's actually a little bit of love trouble about for some people. So if your love life is not everything you would like it to be, listen up. If you're feeling disappointed in love, you could be tuning into a rather feeble Venus-Neptune clash, which is happening this week. Venus being the planet of love and Neptune being the planet of disappointment. Sometimes a disappointment in love is all about us learning a lesson. And this week, boundaries in particular could be the lesson we need to learn. So learning about having boundaries with the people that we love. Or learning that other people having boundaries with us, which we didn't know were there, which we didn't really want. So if your love life is in any way, shape or form not as healthy as you would like it to be, that is the subject for debate today. We're going to be talking about love, we're going to be talking about love life, and we're going to be talking about your love life. So please give me a call. All the numbers are, I believe, on the Hay House website, Hay House Radio website, as well as teaching about Venus-Neptune and how that affects your love life potentially. I'll also be taking your calls in the second half of the show. I'm actually on Facebook Live at the moment as well. Hello everybody on Facebook Live. I've actually had trouble seeing people's messages on Facebook Live, so I'm sorry about that. If you send me a message and I don't see it, I'm sorry about that. But yeah, so before we go any further, what I'd really like to start off by doing is something I hope will be very useful to you, to take a look at the week ahead, the astrology for the week ahead. This week we get, in this order, Mercury is sextiling Jupiter. We're going to have the third quarter moon in the sign of Aries, and we're going to have what I've just been talking about, which was Venus squaring Neptune. So let's look at them one by one. Mercury sextile Jupiter. Now that is a very nice link, okay? So I've started off by talking about Venus squaring Saturn, which is going to be a bit difficult. But on the 14th of July, we get Mercury in the sign of Leo sextiling Jupiter. Now Mercury is the communications planet. So basically when Mercury's in good shape, our communications tend to be in better shape. Jupiter is the happy planet of expansion and all good things. So when Mercury and Jupiter are connecting, it's actually a really good combination. So let's just say right off the bat, over the next couple of days, if you have a conversation you need to have with someone, a difficult conversation, something you're a bit worried about talking about, or if you want to kind of enthuse someone, if you want to enroll them in your idea that you have, if you want to sort of try and get them to be as enthusiastic about something as you are, Mercury Jupiter is going to be really, really good for that. And so that applies in your love life, but also in your personal life. So in your professional life, I should say. So in your personal life, it would be, if it's maybe a difficult conversation you have to have with your mom or your dad or your parents or a sibling or whatever, something like that, or even your best friend, if you kind of need to bring up a tricky subject. Or if you say, for example, you want to go on holidays with one of your friends over summer and you've been waiting, when's the right time to ask her? Well, now could really be a very good time to raise that subject, because Mercury sextile Jupiter is a very, very positive link and very good for communications. Also at work, if you want to talk about something, if you want to ask for holidays, for example, or you want to ask for a raise, or you want to just talk about your job duties, anything like that, really, really good time to be talking about anything at all, really, with Mercury coming up to sextile Jupiter. Moreover, Mercury is currently in the sign of Leo, which you might think, well, how does that affect me if I'm not a Leo? Well, the answer is possibly a lot, because wherever you have Leo in your chart, and I'm going to tell you that in 1 second, is where we are about to get 2 new moons. Okay, now that's really big. These 2 new moons are really, really big, because when we get 1 new moon, that's great, because we have that burst of new energy coming into our charts, and we get 1 new moon in every single part of our chart or our part of our life as the year unfolds. But when we get 2 new moons in a row, that's big. It's actually not a blue moon. It's not what you call a blue moon, but it's still really important. A blue moon actually has no astrological significance really anyway. This does have astrological significance because each sign governs a different part of your chart depending on your rising sign. And I'm going to tell you in a minute, so don't worry if you don't know. Don't worry about getting lost. But basically, when you get 1 new moon, you get 1 big flash of energy. When you get 2 new moons, you get a big flash of energy. Okay, and what's more is that the 2nd new moon in Leo, which will be coming in August, is actually going to be an eclipse. So it's like quadruple the energy, say. Okay, so that's why it's Leo so important right now, and Mercury is also in Leo. So where is all this energy for you? You're probably wondering. Where is it? Where's Leo for me? Because if it doesn't matter what star sign you are, you still have Leo somewhere in your chart. So I'm just going to quickly give you a run through. So if you are Aries or Aries rising, it's in your 5th house, which is the part of your chart where you have fun. So there's some really big energy coming to you about having more fun, something to do with children, good times to connect to the children, also a very good time for creativity for Aries. Taurus or Taurus rising, there is stuff happening for you when it comes to your home, okay? So home and family. And I will tell you, I'm Taurus rising, and I'm looking to move in the very near future from where I am right now. So that's good for me. If you're a Taurus who wants to move or Taurus rising, it's looking good. Gemini, 3rd house, communication. So basically what that means for Gemini is you're actually in for a really busy time, but also a time to be thinking about how well you're communicating. Remember, you've got Saturn in your opposite sign, so everything you do now is a learning experience, and it can be a little bit tedious, but it's also going to set you up for the next 30 years. For Cancerians, it's in your 2nd house of cash. So if you want more money, well, you could be about to get your wish, because you're going to have, well, first of all, you've got the Mercury-Jupiter connection this week, which is great for talking about money. And then you're going to have the 2 new moons, including the eclipse, in your cash, property and possession zone. Very good. Also really good if you haven't been feeling that good about yourself, because it can help boost your self-esteem. Leo, of course, if you're Leo or Leo rising, well, it's all about you, of course, which it's always all about Leos. And it's actually a big deal because you're getting this double full moon in your sign. So it really is a time for you to be thinking, what do I want in my life? And, what am I going to do in order to make it happen? Virgo or Virgo rising. Okay, so that's taking place, the Mercury-Jupiter connection and the new moons are taking place in your 12th house, which is your spirituality zone. So this is really a great time for you to be working on your spirituality, be meditating, doing yoga. And it's not just about, oh, I'm so righteous, I do yoga and I chant and I meditate. It's actually about connecting to your intuitive self. And also, I find when I don't feel like meditating or I don't feel like doing my little ceremonies I do or chanting, what I do is I just go and I do them and I just feel grateful. Okay, because if you're expressing gratitude, that's actually one of the best things you can do. So, you don't only do it because you're feeling bad. Okay, so Virgos, that's actually kind of a message for everyone, but Virgos in particular, you have a chance to really boost your spiritual side in the coming months. Libra, 11th house, very good time for you to be extra popular, more friends, new friends, and so on. And but also a time where actually it's a really a time to be making your new moon wishes. Okay, really important to be making your new moon wishes, because wishes are much more likely to come true at the time of the new moon in your 11th house. And moreover, the 2nd new moon is an eclipse. So Libra, work out what you want. For Scorpio, 10th house. So now that's career, that's the career zone. But if you've been working too hard, then it could be you're going to start to take things a bit easier. If you haven't been working hard, you're looking for a job, it could be a restart. Basically, there's a whole lot of energy coming, starting this week, and then coming at the time of the new moon, and then the eclipse, all in your career zone. Sorry, it's a bit noisy here. We're under the flight path. I'm just going to see if that helps. Is that a bit quieter? Sorry, I'm just closing the window for those of you who can't see Facebook Live. I just closed the window. It's a bit noisy. Okay, Sagittarius, 9th house. Well, the 9th house is about travel and study and about seeing the great cosmic picture of where you are, where you want to be. So if you're Sagittarius or Sagittarius rising, definitely a good chance for some travel coming up. Really good time to be starting a new course of study if that's something you've been thinking about. And also a really good time to be thinking about your philosophies of life. What are your philosophies of life? Capricorn, 8th house, guess what? Sex and money. Okay, so sex and money is the big thing for you in the coming 6 months, actually. That's starting now with Mercury, Jupiter, and then with the 2 new moons. Sex and money, really, really big changes are possible for you, Capricorn, if you want changes in your sex life or to do with your finances. Aquarius, big for them as well, because it's in your 7th house of love. So start this week, if you're having issues with your partner or your ex, start this week by talking things through. That's really the first step to take, because you've got the Mercury Jupiter connection, and then you've got the 2 new moons. So really good time for you, Aquarius, to sort your love life out if it needs sorting out. And Pisces, it's taking place in your 6th house of daily work and health. So for one thing, this week in particular, if you're having issues at work and you want to change your job description somehow, really good time to talk about it because of the Mercury Jupiter connection. But then also, because of the new moons coming in the same part of your chart, really good time to be changing your job altogether, but also to be getting back into some really good self-care routines. And the thing I always think of when I see 6th house now after the advent of Instagram and hashtag self-care, I think hashtag self-care. Really, really good time for Pisceans in particular to be paying attention to some hashtag self-care. Okay, now I just thought I'd mention, if you love astrology and you would like to learn astrology and you are anywhere near London, I'm actually going to be holding a workshop in London on, I think it's the 23rd of July at the Theosophical Society in the centre of London. So if you're in the UK and you're listening and you'd like to come to my workshop, we've got some tickets left. We've sold loads of tickets. It's actually, well, I say loads, but it's actually quite a small room. We've sold a good percentage of the tickets. And if you want to find out about it, you can go to, just type in moonmessages.com, moonmessages.com/London 17, the number 17. So moonmessages.com/London 17. Okay. If you're on Facebook, give me a little heart. I can see some people are on there. Hi Seb. Hi Laura. I saw Olivier before. I don't seem to get comments when people are on Facebook. Anyway, we'll keep going. So now, more about this week. I said we've got 3 big things to look at. So the first was Mercury sextile Jupiter, which is about communications. The second is the fact that we are experiencing the 3rd quarter moon in Aries this week, okay? Now, what does that mean for us all? Well, for one thing, it tells us that we are in the cycle that goes from the full moon last week to the new moon next week, okay? So when we get the 3rd quarter moon, we know we're moving in what's called the waning cycle. And it's waning because at the time of the full moon is big and round. I don't remember where I was, but I had a really good view of it actually. It was really lovely. I feel like I was outside of London somewhere and looking at the full moon. It was big and beautiful, but now it's getting smaller and smaller every day. We've been through the disseminating stage and now we're at the 3rd quarter moon this week. So I thought I would just read to you a little bit from my book, Moonology, which came out a year ago this month and is #1 on our Amazon Astrology bestsellers in the UK and number 3 or 4 in the States a year after its release, which is kind of amazing. The book is called Moonology, if you'd like to be one of the people who've bought it. And if you've bought it already, thank you so much. So looking at the meaning of the waning quarter moon. So the new moon and the full moon get all the hype and attention. It's true. But the quarter moon is also really interesting and I think a bit lesser known. There are 2 quarter moons a month. One is waxing and occurs in the week between the new moon and the full moon. Waxing is when the moon is getting bigger, moving towards the full moon. And the other is waning in the week between the full moon and the new moon, as I just explained. So the quarter moon is created when the moon is at a 90-degree angle, also known as squaring the sun. quarter moons are provocative, okay? That's probably the main word you'd want to give for quarter moons. Quarter moons are provocative. They sometimes create a mini crisis that prompts action, okay? So have a think this week. If there's a mini crisis that comes up for you that you feel quite emotional about, if you're someone who likes to live consciously, and I know a lot of people who listen to Hay House Radio are, then it's really a week to think, okay, this issue's come up for me. What does it mean? The annoying thing about the quarter moon is that it often raises issues that need dealing with, okay? I'm kind of being a bit facetious there. It's not annoying, it's actually quite useful, let's face it. The good thing about the quarter moon is that it raises issues that need dealing with, get it? Okay. The influence of the quarter moon is often quite fleeting, but it can give a sort of flavour to the week, which you'll feel more or less depending on what other action is taking place in the skies and in your chart at the time. Try not to be too worried. The answer with the quarter moon is to deal with whatever is happening. So this is the quarter moon in Aries, okay? If you deal with any issues in your private life this week, so if you deal with issues in your private life this week, you might actually sort them out once and for all. Why is this? That's because the sun is in the private or family life sign of Cancer, but it's getting this prodding from the quarter moon in Aries. So it's really a time where deal with issues in your private life and you might sort them out once and for all. Okay. So that's the second thing. So just to recap what we've done so far, we're talking about the astrology for the week ahead, and we've talked about Mercury sextiling Jupiter, so it's a really good time for communications in your personal life and in your private life. We've talked about the quarter moon, which is about the fact that the sun and the moon are at a hard angle, so there are going to be some issues coming up which need dealing with. And if you deal with them this week, you might actually sort them out once and for all, especially anything to do with your private life or home or family, okay? And then we have the aspect between the planets that I talked about at the start of this show, which is the Venus square Neptune. Now, Venus square Neptune is not kind of the thing an astrologer wants to see when they open up their ephemeris or their chart program. But there it is, we get it a couple of times a year, and here it is, we've got it now. Venus is in Gemini as this clash takes place. So that's kind of a warning to Geminis and Sagittarians. And Neptune is in Pisces. So that's kind of a warning to Pisceans and Virgos. Yeah, plus a little bit to Librans and Taurians as well, because Venus, Venus is part of you very much. Venus is the planet of love and Neptune is the planet of soulmates. So what does it mean when they clash like they are clashing this week? Well, I think probably the number one thing is it can be confusing. So Neptune, so you know, Neptune is the planet of soulmates, okay? It's the planet of poetry and music. It's the planet of altered states. But when it's clashing with the other planets, it can actually just be confusing. For those of you on Facebook who can see me, I'm just going to show you something with my hands here. So imagine this is a spectrum, okay? And this is the Neptune Spectrum. Imagine, and if you're listening on the radio, just imagine a long, thin line. Now, at one end of the line, you have altered states, meditation, higher consciousness. At the other end of the line, you have drugs and alcohol and confusion. Can you see how they're kind of the same thing, but different? So you can reach up into altered states through meditation, through chanting. I mean, I'm thinking of like the Sufis who do the whirling dervishes and stuff like that. It makes them go higher and higher in a really natural way. And at the other end of the Neptune spectrum, you also can get into an altered state, but in a completely different way, getting higher and higher using drugs or alcohol and possibly ending up in a bit of a mess, because if we do too much drugs and alcohol, it usually doesn't end too well. So that's one thing to understand about Neptune. Now, actually, some of you, especially those of you in Australia or the UK, will know of the wonderful late great astrologer Jonathan Caner. And I remember I was doing a little recording session with him one day, and it was actually Venus square Neptune. I said, "Oh, Jonathan, look, it's Venus square Neptune." And he said, "Yeah, don't get drunk with your lover." So, you know, it can be something as simple as that you go out and you get drunk with your lover and it works out fine. But it can also be a time where you go out, you get drunk with your lover and all this stuff comes up and everyone gets really upset and there's disappointments and confusion and no one's really sure what's going on. It can also be that your love life is feeling a bit limp, like a bit of a damp squib. If you're disappointed in love, if you're confused about money, because Venus is also connected to money, it can be that you are feeling the Venus-Neptune square. So when I was sort of making all my notes for today, I was thinking, okay, well, it's all very well telling everyone about all the troubles, but what can we do? And I came to the conclusion the best thing to do this week is just to trust, okay? Trust that everything is unfolding for your highest good, because it is, okay? Whatever's coming up now, live consciously, pay attention, and see what you're learning. Next week, we actually get a much happier Venus-Jupiter connection. Okay, and when that happens, even if you've had big love troubles this week, you might actually find that you can sort them out next week. Now, because Venus is in the sign of Gemini, I know many of you like to work with angels, and I'm just going to show you. This is a book I wrote for those of you who are on Facebook. I wrote a book, let's see, I think it was 2013, with the inimitable Doreen Virtue. You can see this is actually the one I've got on Facebook Live. It's actually a French version. It's all in French in there. I don't know, you probably can't see it. So what we did is we researched, we used our intuition, we collaborated, and we came up with a list of which angels we felt were associated with which of the signs. And we did it separately. I was in Australia at the time. She was in Hawaii. She'd actually already done it. She didn't tell me. It was kind of like she was just seeing what I thought. And we came up with something like, I think, 9 or 10 of the same angels. So we decided we're on the same page, and off we went, and we wrote this book, Angel Astrology 101, and in it you can work out which angel is associated to which sign. Now, Venus is in Gemini, in the sign, Venus is in Gemini, and Gemini is associated with the angel Zadkiel, okay? So Zadkiel is actually known as the memory angel and is also very compassionate, all right? So one thing I would suggest is if you are having love troubles this week, talk to Zadkiel. Just all you have to do is light a candle and say the name Zadkiel, okay? Z-A-D-K-I-E-L, Zadkiel. Just say the name 3 times and talk to Zadkiel. Ask Zadkiel to help you to understand, to remember any issues that have come up for you in the past that are causing your upsets now, for example, and also ask for help to find compassion for yourself and for anyone else who's involved in the situation. And also remember that life goes in cycles, okay? That's a really important thing to remember this week because, as I said, next week we actually get a connection between Venus and Jupiter, a harmonious connection. So even if your love life is a bit sucky this week, it actually could be a lot better next week. Okay, now the other thing I was going to suggest today is that we clear our chakras. Before we go to the phones, I'm going to go to the phones quite soon. Let me just see. Oh, there's people waiting on the lines. Thank you guys for being so patient. But the most important thing is to be energetically clear. Okay, and we are in the waning cycle, so it's a really good time to be getting clear because the waning cycle is when we let go of stuff. So the new moon is when we start and we keep pushing in the waxing cycle. We get to the full moon, it's the big explosion, and then we release. And we are in the release cycle right now. So one of the important things to do is to release any upset, any resentment, anything that's been going on in your life that you need to let go of. I know that I found the last full moon quite intense and not really that surprising because it was conjunct the planet of power and passion, Pluto, and paranoia. I won't go into the other things. It's all about because it was just two funny things that happened in my life last week with the full moon. But if you've had like a big emotional roller coaster lately, that could be because you're also feeling the full moon. But this is the time for us to let all that stuff go. If it wasn't on Hay House Radio, if I was in my personal life, I would probably swear. Let all that go. It's really the time for it. Today, as it happens, we have the moon in Aquarius. And one thing I just wanted to say is, so that's actually really great that I'm on the radio today because Moon in Aquarius is great for electronics. Regarding energetic clear out that we can do, that we're going to do in a second, the best way to clear karma is to get energetically clear as well. So even if you feel you've done something not that great in the last week or two, and I know I feel like I didn't really behave myself that well in the last full moon, forgiving yourself and forgiving others is the number one way to let it all go and clear the karma. Okay, so how do you easily forgive? We're actually still in the full moon phase right now, even though the full moon took place a couple of days ago. The number one thing to do is to write down the name of whoever hurt you, or write down the name of someone that you feel if you hurt them, if you let them down, if you weren't as good to them as you could have been. And then just send them love. It's that simple. Send them love. And even if they hurt you, and even if you're really mad with them, consider this idea, okay? Consider this idea. Before you incarnated here on this planet, this lifetime, you made a soul contract with that person that they would come and they would push all your buttons and really upset you so you could learn whatever lesson it was that you had to learn, okay? So try that. Forgiveness, we're still in the full moon phase. It's the time to forgive, and forgiveness will break the karma, okay? So even if you feel like you've created some bad karma for yourself as a result of whatever happened, forgiveness will break the karma. And I just give you this address for a free full moon forgiveness kit if you want it. It's free and it's full moon forgiveness. I mentioned it last week, but because we're still in the full moon phase, I thought I'd mention it again for anyone who didn't catch me last week. So it is moonmessages.com, moonmessages.com/forgiveness. moonmessages.com/forgiveness. I can hardly wait to speak to everyone. I've just got a couple more things. I've got 3 more minutes before we're halfway through the show. So for one thing I want to do is I want to just do a little chant now, because I love to chant and because I'm feeling really driven to chant for people. So I hope you don't mind. But it's a really good chant to do an energetic clear out because it balances the chakras. I'll just do it once. It'll take about probably 15 seconds. So if you're in a position to sit down, close your eyes and just listen, it will actually help you clear yourself out energetically. And more about this as we get closer to the new moon, but being energetically clear is one of the most important things you can do for yourself when it comes to doing your new moon manifesting, okay? So let's start. I'm going to just close my eyes. If you can, close your eyes and just breathe and just listen. I'm going to sing. They're actually beej mantras, which I learned in India, and they clear out the chakras. So if you're comfortable, here we go. Hari Om Nam Lam Mam Vam Sim Ram Vam Yam Yam Ham Shivaram Swaha. And it's that simple. If you are listening on the replay or you're listening on Facebook Live after the live, if you're listening on the replay of the Facebook Live, you can replay it a couple of times. It just clears you out energetically. It's actually a really, really powerful mantra. I was actually taught that in India in December. And a few days later, somebody said to me, oh yeah, they're really basic, those beej mantras. You don't know why you're bothering with those. I was taught them by my teacher in India, and I was like, oh, okay. Just forgot about them. I was actually taught them by, it's a long story, but anyway, the long and the short was I went back in February and somebody else taught me the same thing, and I kind of got the message, okay, I am meant to be learning these beach mantras, and I find them really powerful. And if you want to clear yourself out energetically, that's the way to do it. Okay, I think I'm going to go to the phones now. I was going to talk a bit more about love, but let's talk about your love life rather than love in general. So because I'm going to go to the phones, I'm going to end the Facebook Live. Thank you for listening. If you want to come and listen to the calls, if you want to hear what else is going to go on in this show, hop over now to heyhouseradio.com, and thank you for listening.